okay, I've got a bit of a sore throat. I can't project.
Did you get it on the one?
Did you get it?
There's not that many laughs in my talk tonight. I'm just going to talk about killing the Prime Minister. So don't all cheer at once. Cool, that's me. Does anyone else have one of those Twitter accounts where you pretend to be an inanimate object, like a naked mole rat or a longboat or a stuffed horse? Anyone? Yeah? What are you? Amazing. Okay. Sometimes I sit on the bus and pretend to be the early 19th century skull of the only man to ever kill a British Prime Minister. So I used to have a good reason to do this. I used to do the PR for Bart's Pathology Museum, where John's skull is based. Just there, if you guys... Actually, I'll stand on this side. I'm less likely to hit my head on anything. I used to do the PR there, so it sort of made sense that I had this Twitter account, and now I just do it because I'm a really sad, lonely human being, and it's quite fun. I've got 598 followers. If you'd like to make me to 600, please do. Anyway, so John lives at Bart's Pathology Museum. That's actually like a bird's eye view from his cabinet at the back. There's loads of other stuff there, like a torch that's been found up someone's bum, loads of skulls, loads of diseased organs in pots, anti-aircraft shell that was found up someone's bum, massive stone that was found up someone's bum. But I'm not obsessed, luckily, with any of those things. I'm only obsessed with the skull. I took it to the RI once. Actually, Jamie did, I think, in a big Tupperware tub. And I got it out and I was sitting there all night talking about it to people. And I just found myself rubbing his head. It's like he's got this weird hold over me. Sometimes I like to pretend. So that's what he looked like before he was a skull. And sometimes it's uncanny though, isn't it? That's not just me being weird. I mean, you can all see that. But just for a few serious parts here. So John was a businessman. He was in his mid-30s and he went to Russia. And he was arrested and he was put in prison for being in debt. And he was actually in prison on and off for about 5 years, and he's writing to the government and to the king, and there's all kinds of other shit going on at this time. You've got, I think King George was going mad, you've got Napoleonic Wars, you've got rampaging Luddites and all kinds of things. So really no one cared, and he got back he got back to England. This is 1809, and still no one cared, and he quietened down for a little while, and then he started asking for compensation, and no one cared, and he got told by somebody at the Foreign Office, take whatever means you feel are appropriate and necessary to get compensation. So he walked into the House of Commons lobby and he shot the Prime Minister. And Spencer Perceval, who had 12 children, which clearly he was ignoring John for a reason. He was just far too busy. Spencer Perceval fell to the floor and said, "I am murdered." Not last words to really go down in history, but he died a few minutes later. John sat down, just chilled out, and he was like, and just waited to be arrested. And he was put to trial about 2 or 3 days later. There was a weird bit in the middle of the trial. They're basically just discussing whether or not he's mad, trying to work out whether this guy's crazy. And he just gets out an orange and just starts eating an orange. This guy's a pretty certain he's going to get executed, and he just starts eating an orange. And then he was hanged a few days later. He was hanged at Newgate. And there's a bit of debate about who actually dissected the body. I think it was William Blizzard at the Anatomy Theatre at Bart's St Bartholomew's Hospital, so right next to where his head still sits. Luckily, someone had written Bellingham across his head, so they knew who it was. Because there's loads of like unidentified little bits and pieces. I used to get a guy that would email me and call me all the time asking if I had bits from Ripper victims, and I was like, I don't know why I would know that, but it was really weird. Where am I going with that? Yeah, anyway, so I started tweeting as John Bellingham, and the reason behind that was that I wanted people to know this story, because I've done a bunch of these talks in pubs, and some of you might have seen this before, and I really do apologise, but no one knows about this. Like, everyone knows about Abraham Lincoln, John Kennedy, and the other two who I always forget about. But no one knows that we had a Prime Minister who was shot. And I think generally it's a given that Spencer Perceval didn't really make that much of an impact, so it didn't really matter that much that he died. And the only reason he's remembered is that he was the only Prime Minister to get assassinated. But actually, having done a little bit of reading, and I'm totally condensing history down to like the most basic facts here, I think by killing Spencer Perceval, John Bellingham actually killed like tens of thousands of people, because Spencer Perceval was really, really anti-slavery and had been campaigning against slavery. There's lots of measures, various measures. People that know more about history than me are going to know more about these things. Against slavery, and the north of England is pissed off at this because Liverpool is basically built on the slave trade. And when Perceval died, he was replaced by Lord Liverpool, who was kind of the opposite. So Lord Liverpool didn't make anywhere near as much of an impact on banning slavery, and about 40,000 people ended up in the slave trade who wouldn't have ended up being slaves if Spencer Perceval had stayed in power. And also, America declared war on Britain about 2.5 months after Spencer Perceval was shot, and they might not have declared war on Britain if Lord Liverpool had come in earlier and changed some stuff. You can read all about that. Anyway, I started tweeting about John Bellingham, and then I moved house, and I ended up living about 100 metres away from Spencer Perceval's body, just completely spookily. It's underneath a church in Charlton, and I went down to see it. And I wasn't allowed. And the vicar, who was wearing sparkly eyeshadow, was really mean to me and asked me why I hadn't given John Bellingham a Christian burial. I'm really, really sorry, but I just wasn't around in 1812, and I do apologise. But I'm trying to give him like a life after death and tell historian Spencer Perceval's story. And we work in a museum that doesn't earn very much money, so we put his face on a mug. and she found this horribly disrespectful, and she tracked me down on Twitter, and she started trolling me on Twitter. And then a Luddite, do you know about the Luddites that like smashed up machinery in about 1811, 1812? And the Luddites were on Twitter, which was weird. And they started ganging up on me and saying I was being really disrespectful because the curator of the museum had like got these mugs printed. I was promoting them on Twitter because we really needed the money. Don't ask why there's a hedgehog in there. It was just in the office, and just put it in there, and it's not really relevant at all. But do you know what I discovered? I was in Brighton the other day, and it was raining, and I jumped into the first tourist attraction I could find, which was Brighton Museum. I've got a John Bellingham mug in there. So we only have the same moral standards as the late Georgians, because they loved a bit of post-murder merchandise. You get Bellingham, so it just says John Bellingham, who assassinated the Right Honourable Spencer Perceval, and his face looking like Adrian Brody on there. And then they had a milk jug, which you can see like Spencer Perceval on the floor there getting murdered, and they just put it on a milk jug, which was amazing. So I'm really obsessed with John Bellingham. I'm really obsessed with the story, and I started writing a play about it, which is called I Am Murdered. And I've been writing it for a year, and I've only written about 10 pages or something. I could get Una to do the songs. Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. So one day it's gonna get made. Adrian Brody's gonna be my leading man, and then I can't wait. It's really exciting. In the meantime, please follow Bellingham Skull. He's got no body.